Good morning, and those of you following my channel know that a little while ago I did an unboxing of the Denon AVR-X3400H. Now, it was a good amp. I set it up, it worked really well, but there was a couple of things that it didn't do that I wanted it to do. And that was on the second output of the HDMI, it didn't output audio because it was all designed to be working in one room with two monitors. And the other thing it didn't do is it didn't convert component input to HDMI output, which is what I thought it would do when I bought it. However, the next model up, the AVR-X3400, that's the 3400 as opposed to the 2400, does do those things. So it's got those options on board. So what I've done is I've actually spoken to the supplier and they've swapped it out for me. And I've obviously had to pay the difference. And I think this one works out at around, I think it's $550. So it's quite a bit more expensive, but it does do a lot more things. So anyway, I thought I'd do a quick unboxing and see what it looks like, see how it is. I think the actual format of it is very similar. The form factor, very similar to the 2400, the front fascia and everything. But let's have a look and see what it looks like. So, need my trusty knife. And as ever with these things, be a little bit careful when you're cutting in because you don't want to actually damage the item itself. It's usually fairly well packaged deep inside, but you never know. So let's just move that down. Get that open. And the first thing we see is the usual packaging. So what have we got? We've got the remote, which is identical to the remote on the 2400. So that's that. We've got the quick start guide. Not going to go into that here. We've got a little packet with labels and things for your cabling, which is quite handy, and an aerial. This is all the same stuff as in the 2400 so far. And this, if you watched my previous unboxing, you'll know that this is a mic stand. So if you don't actually have a stand for the audio setup mic, you can use this. It's made out of cardboard. But I won't be using that because I've got a stand sitting around somewhere. Batteries for the remote. I think that's a nice little touch. I quite like it when they do things like that. And then you've got the Odyssey mic in here. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with this, but that's basically what it is. And you use that to set up your sound so you can get it with the surround sound sounding as it should. Although, as I think I said in my previous video, I always like to tweak those a little bit manually. I tend to find, especially in my lounge, the rears tend to be a little bit louder than I would like, so I tend to turn the rears down a little bit. But that's personal preference. But let's get into the main element, shall we? And this is going to be heavy. I think this is actually a little bit heavier than the other one. I haven't actually checked the weight, but when I was picking up the box it did feel heavier, so bear with me with this because it's going to take some getting out. Put that down gently. power lead, usual thing, that's a UK power lead, well, power plug. And the amp itself. And yeah, as I said, it looks very, very similar to the 2400, but there are a couple of things internally that make it a better amp. I think it has more power, and it's got those switching options that the 2400 didn't have. So that's going to be useful to me. And I'll probably do another video about that, talking about the switching options if I get the time, because as a gamer, using modern consoles, it's not so good for older consoles, and you probably need a dedicated switcher if you're going to use an older console. But for modern consoles, this is really handy because you can switch them, and you can use to switch to be able to record your video as well. But as I say, I might do another video about that. Let's look at the front fascia. See if I can show you that. And on the front of there, it has, let's have a look. It's got aux 1, that's 4K and HDCP 2.2, and that will take a camera or a video camera, a camcorder, that kind of thing. It's got a USB in, setup mic in, phones, that's headphones, and a few buttons for changing the inputs. On the left hand side here, this is the source select, and this is the master volume. But you won't be using that most of the time because you'll be using that. So let's have a quick look on the back. If I can move this round. And it does weigh a bit. So let me see if I can do this in a way that you can see but isn't going to break the amp. Right, so on here, I'm not going to go through everything, but it has got the component in. So you've got 2 component ins, I believe. Yeah, component in assignable. And they will output to HDMI, so that's really handy. Then you've got 7 HDMI in and 2 HDMI monitor outs. Now that's important because on the first one you had 2 monitor outs, and these both just carry, well, basically the second monitor, it won't have the sound on it, or at least it didn't on the previous one. So the Zone 2 will carry sound on the HDMI, and the reason that's important to me is because then I can output that, the Zone 2, to my capture device and be able to capture while viewing on the monitor without using the pass-through on the capture device. And why that's good, it means that I can connect up multiple consoles and then just switch over and capture from all of them without having to faff about. So that's why I'm using it for that. And you've got your speakers, you've got front, left and right, center, surround left and right, surround back left and right. I won't be using all of these. I'm not going to be setting it up with the center channel. I'm just going to be setting it up with front left and right and rear left and right. And that is pretty much it. I mean, if you're into the AV side of things or the music side of things, there are some other inputs. Obviously, there's stereo inputs as well. So, and you've got your standard video inputs. I wouldn't be using those if I were you. I mean, you might want to use them, I suppose, if you've got a really old console or something you want to plug in there. But yeah, that's that. So hopefully that's enough information. If any of you guys have got this and you know more that I've left out or anything I've got wrong, let me know. But in the meantime, I'm going to go and get this rigged up and get myself a cup of tea and I will speak to you guys in the next one. Wish me luck.